Starting. I want to welcome everybody and just remind you that the next meetings will be on September 17th and November 19th. Now, that's all subject to change in this environment we live in now, but that's the plan, and I'm pretty sure they'll both be virtual meetings like this. And other than that, I'll turn it over to Miles for his announcement.
Per Oregon law, this meeting is being recorded. It'll be archived by the city according to the retention schedule. It'll be posted on the city's website for anyone to view. Thank you.
Okay, I guess you're next on the agenda, Miles, for the city update. So can you go ahead and do that?
Sure. Okay. Let's see, July news. Black Lives Matter. Beaverton prides itself on being a diverse and welcoming community. We are listening and working to address heartfelt concerns brought to our attention by community members about systemic racism and calls for equity. We are committed to a path that brings us closer to where we need to be. As a city, Beaverton is vested in policies and programs to help make our work accessible to all community members who call it home. Beaverton's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Plan, first adopted in 2015, was updated in 2019 and is the guiding document for internal and external efforts. The City Council passed a resolution denouncing systemic racism at the June 9th council meeting. The resolution announces the city's promise to support nonviolent protests and dismantle long-standing actions that harm people of color, as well as a commitment to eliminate racism in city structures and practices. In addition, Mayor Denny Doyle signed the My Brother's Keeper Alliance pledge, led by former President Obama, and committed to review city policies, seek community input, communicate findings, and reform our community's police use of force policies. Community engagement and conversation sessions are being planned. For more information and next steps, visit beavertonoregon.gov/beheard. City buildings. Washington County remains in phase 1 reopening, and city buildings will continue to provide most services remotely and keep buildings closed to the public for in-person visits and business through at least, we just got an update on this, it's through at least mid-August now. Some services such as the library and Beaverton Municipal Court may begin limited in-person visits sooner with distancing and other safeguards. Just a reminder that city services remain available for remote business by phone or online. You can pay your bills, there are library programs, there's NAC meetings. I can't think of something that you can't do online. Beaverton City Library has also launched BCL to Go. It's a contactless curbside pickup service at the main library. 5 days a week, library card holders can make an appointment to pick up current holds that are in the held status, as well as up to 3 book bundles for kids geared toward a specific reading level or interest. And also the book drops at the main library and Murray Shoals Branch Library are open to receive items. They're quarantining those items for 72 hours before they check them in. So it may take several days before you see the returns come off your account. And fines are not being charged for materials returned past their due date. They're opening up access to computers by appointment for a limited number of people at the main library. And that is supposed to start any day now. And face coverings will be required for all library visitors. And the library's website is beavertonlibrary.org. And if anybody has a ticket, the Beaverton Municipal Court will begin to reopen in a very limited capacity, specifically for criminal arraignments, and where defendants are unable to use technology to access remote hearing options. They've added plexiglass barriers and will offer face coverings. And their website's beavertonoregon.gov/court. And that's all of them.
Okay, thank you. I might add that for most people, if you keep your mic muted except when you're talking. It works better because any noise sometimes kicks it back to you. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is police department. I'm going to let him introduce himself and go from there.
Well, thank you. For those of you that I haven't met, my name's Jeff Williams. I'm the Deputy Police Chief with Beaverton Police Department. And I know Chief Groshong has attended several NAC meetings. However, there's only one of her and there's a city council meeting tonight. So she's kind of can't be two places at once. The main reason that we wanted to come out to the NAC meetings and make ourselves available is back on June 16th, Chief Groshong addressed the city council and she spoke to a program called 8 Can't Wait, which is basically it's from Campaign Zero. And it's 8 recommendations regarding use of force and policies that are really in response to national events that have occurred and the murder of George Floyd. And she talked about those, and she talked about how those 8 principles are related to our current policies and training of the department. Kind of simultaneous to those things going on, our state legislature just recently enacted 6 measures, which all touch upon police accountability and various topics. And so all of that to say that we're very in tune with national conversations, what's going on nationally and locally, and we just really want to make ourselves available to answer questions that you might have about either 8 Can't Wait, the legislative efforts, or things that we're doing right now. And so with that, I just turn it over to any questions you might have regarding those topics or other topics of the department that I can possibly answer. I see that we don't have a patrol officer here, so if you ask me something about a particular call, I'm going to have to do some research. I probably won't be able to give you answers off the top of my head.
And for our 2 attendees, you can raise your virtual hand and be allowed to speak and ask questions, or you can use, anyone can use the Q&A box if you want to ask an anonymous question.
Oh, you really did not explain what the 8 Can't Wait proposal is. I wonder if you could do that a little bit.
Yeah, most certainly. So 8 Can't Wait, it spoke to various topics, use of force, and I'll just go through what each of them are. The first, I guess, policy or practice that they recommend is banning chokeholds and strangleholds. The second one is required de-escalation, and that's in reference to kind of use of force scenarios. The third one is require
Yeah, we could not hear you. I don't know what happened. Hey, Miles, have you have an idea why his audio didn't come in?
I don't know. Deputy Chief, if you can't get it to start, if you just hang up and call one of the phone numbers listed on that email, you should be able to talk. It'll just be through the phone.
I think he's not connected, really. No, he's,
Oh. Let's try one more time. Can you unmute Chief Williams, Deputy Chief Williams?
no, he's dropped.
It's just like a real meeting when they get a call in the middle of the meeting and they leave. We'll see if he calls in. I'll keep an eye out for him. Do you want to move on to a different agenda topic, Jim? And when he comes back on, you're muted, Jim.
Yeah, let me go into a couple short ones here. Casey calls back within 5 minutes or so.
Oh, I think he's back.
Oh, is he back?
Let's see.
Oh, okay, I'll get.
Try unmuting.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you know what number I left off at?
Number 2.
Okay. Number 3 is requiring warning before shooting. Number 4 is exhausting all alternatives before shooting. Number 5 is a duty to intervene. Number 6 is a ban at shooting at moving vehicles. Number 7 is a requirement of the use of force continuum. And then number 8 is a requirement for comprehensive reporting. And again, that's reporting of use of force.
Does the police department have an objection to any of those? Well, I'm not hearing anything.
I guess not.
Yeah, did you hear my question? I just asked if the police department had an objection to any of those 8 items.
Jim, I think he's having issues again, it appears.
Well, maybe I should go on a little bit and see if he gets it straightened up. We're almost done anyway. Okay, the next thing was land use items, or not the next because the virtual dog walk is next, but that might take a little time. This is really short. There's a hearing, an application in for what they call an AT&T small cell on Nimbus Avenue. They already have one. They're replacing it with this one. It basically is a cell tower within a light pole that's about 30 feet long. It's a 30-foot metal pole with a diameter of 15 inches, and it sort of mixes in with the existing poles. And it's a small cell thing. It really didn't see any problems with it. It is a type 3. And on top of that, the FCC says you have to approve all cell phone applications anyway. So, and some of you may notice the blue and white signs at the Shell station at Hall and Shoals. And even though that's the other side of the street, we normally think of Tigard, the Shell station and the mattress place, if it's still there, are actually in Beaverton. And they just have what they call a type 2 review for modification of the on-site parking stall and landscaping configuration. As far as I can tell, that's pretty minor. And that's the only 2 land use applications I have right now. So
They actually are requesting surveys, right, to be filled out. And
Pardon?
if you have other ideas, yeah, I can send you the.
they're all on the internet. Everybody should be signed up to get those things if they're interested.
Well, this is Tigard though, so.
No, it's not actually that's Beaverton. That is Beaverton on that side of the thing, and a little bit on the other side of Hall there is also Beaverton.
Yeah, Tigard sent it out on behalf of both Beaverton, Tigard, and THPRD. So it's for
But
everyone.
I think that was Beaverton. I still think that's in Beaverton.
Anyway, I put the link where you can find more information and where you also can find the survey that can be filled out, because Wendy from THRP sent that to me too. And they did really look through all of the things. I had all these questions and then they were all answered. Most of them are answered in the details there. Anyway.
Okay. Good. Hey, Miles, did the police assistant chief ever come back?
He hasn't yet. I asked him to just call in, just use the audio on a regular phone. I emailed him, so we'll see if he's able to call back in. Jim, you're muted again.
Oh, I keep forgetting that. We'll go on to the virtual dog walk activity. And Jennifer and Bridget know what's going on there, so I'm going to sort of let them do the talking on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna share the little PowerPoint I have. Okay.
So Miles, do you have to give her the screen to share?
No, I got it. I got it.
You got it.
Yep.
Already checked it out. So I think Miles is ahead of the game. Okay, so first of all, yeah, Jen and I came up with this idea of a COVID pet cup, virtual pet walk run activity with a pet or a stuffed animal, or if you want to do it by yourself, that's fine too. Or anyway, what we have as options for participation is a virtual 1K and the 5K. You can see this, right? I
Yes.
should ask that question. You could post videos and pictures for challenges. We were thinking of maybe pet trick video or look-alike photos or something like that. And then there could be also social distance dog show organized by community families. There are very specific details about that. I didn't put that in the PowerPoint, but we would send them to people, and I mean, you know, like there has to be a lot of details added to it. And then we said an optional thing that would be really nice would be donations to animal rescue as a registration kind of thing. And every participant would be entered for drawing of prizes. And that also includes the people who show that they have done optional donations possibly. So these are all kind of options for participation. And you just interrupt, I guess, with questions, but I'm going to go through the details here, and then at the end, if you have questions, it's also good, whichever. Unless, Jen, you want to add something?
No, I think you're doing great. I'll interject as needed.
So the project goals are creating community, and then it's very flexible and inclusive because the people can just walk whenever they want. We have a time that we want to suggest, but that's pretty long, so nobody would be crowding places or any of those kind of things. It can be anybody. It's family oriented, but also it can be a couple or, you know, a single person. And one of our favorites is the pet awareness that will be coming with this. The time we had thought end of August through the month of September, in conjunction with August 26th is National Dog Day. I found all these things online. September was a week of National Dog Week and Deaf Pet Awareness Week, but the most important one is September 23rd, Dogs and Politics Day. And so we thought this would be a nice kind of framework. And then the location is really in any neighborhood parks, anywhere. Anybody can actually almost participate here. Like Beaverton can do it as everybody, but it would be here in, you know, like they can do it. We will just push forward. What is needed? We need committee volunteers.
Birgit, can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, please.
Along with the participation, one of the things we, Birgit and I have been talking to the South Beaverton NAC as well to participate in this, and not only from a standpoint of just participating in the walk, but also from the standpoint of using resources, both in the form of volunteer hours and just assistance in organizing it. So to further kind of emphasize community building, it's also, you know, inclusive of the neighboring NACs as well.
Right, and we were looking at maybe going to Vost, which is just above us, and go from there. I mean, that's another option, you know. So what we need is committee volunteers for sign up and registration, like following up on that, posting the results. I mean, that might also be automatic, but we need the initial setup with any media. We need some administration. Promotion is a big part. And then we need judges. That's the most fun part. And then the other part that we need is soliciting prizes. We had thought we'd give everybody medals. And I don't know if I had examples here, but they are further down. And we have different places where we can get those. There are also possibly we wanted to give participation certificates, which we can just send out per email. So that's really nice. And then gift cards or something like that, which also we could send per mail possibly. And then what's next? We presented it already to South Beaverton, like Jen said, and we were thinking of maybe other NACs, but obviously we're doing it here for Greenway. And we're applying for the matching grant. And if you are interested, come to our meeting on the 20th of July, 7 p.m. And it will be only 1 hour maximum virtually again. And you can contact Birgit or Jen with any questions, or if you, now you can also ask questions, or if you want to participate particularly.
Yeah, and the planning meeting really is to vet out the details behind all these options or ideas that we've come up with. We just kind of threw a bunch of ideas out on the table, but it doesn't mean that we're going to do all of them. That's the purpose of the planning meeting. So if you're interested in more about getting involved and helping to define what this event is, I highly recommend you plan on joining us on the meeting on the 20th so that we can formulate an idea. Obviously, it's a very short window of time to get this vetted out and detailed and promoted so that we get good participation if we are indeed going to start the last week in August. But that was one of the reasons of having it open over several weeks, was so that it gave more people more opportunity to get involved and participate and be flexible with everybody's schedule, as well as not have everybody gather at a single time, so that we're honoring social distancing and doing this in a way that's socially acceptable and safe for everybody. But we think now more than ever, because of everybody feeling so isolated, and we're so fortunate to be surrounded by beautiful parks and walking paths, or even just our neighborhoods that are walkable, that we felt like it was a great way to make everybody feel like they could come together as a community and get outdoors and enjoy the beautiful weather, and really just enjoy participating as a community in an event, either for a good cause or just to say that you're part of our community. So we're pretty excited about it. We think that this is something that could build over each year and eventually become a big event over a weekend once we're all able to join together as a group. But this was just one way that Birgit had really kind of initiated, and I thought it was a wonderful idea, and I think it's a very timely thing.
Any questions?
I guess not. We still need to vote on a couple things as a NAC.
Was Ramona saying something?
Yeah, you're muted, Ramona.
All right.
There you are.
What about the families who own cats and not dogs?
They could bring them as well if they wanted
Well,
to.
the cats don't normally go outdoors, so, and they don't walk on leashes. Ours doesn't.
I saw somebody walking with their cat, and I think that's one thing that why we want to offer more than one type of activity, so they could enter maybe the cat trick contest or look-alike contest. We're trying to come up with ideas so that people who are challenged to walk with their pets can still participate in some other way. Maybe it's a costume contest, silly hat contest. That's why we want to offer more than one way to participate, to make it as inclusive as possible. But
we can also, like the most beautiful cat or something, if you have ideas and you want to join us, great, or send them to us, Ramona. It would be really great, because we didn't want to limit it to dogs. That's why we are saying pets,
Well,
Yeah.
some people have pet rabbits or
Yeah,
parrots or parakeets, and
Yeah.
those are pets too.
exactly,
But
right.
they don't go walking.
That's why we thought maybe there's another option that they can come up with, you know.
Well, the
So-
donations to the animal rescue charity would be a good all-inclusive, I think, for all of the pets.
Right,
So they could show or offer proof that they made a donation, I suppose,
Yeah.
to be entered into the prize drawings.
yeah.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, we should take 2 votes. One is to approve the virtual dog walk activity, and the second, if they put a matching grant in, we should vote to acknowledge or approve that. Do you have any idea what you'd be looking at in a matching grant?
The maximum.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a lot of volunteer activity in this, so that's gonna cover a lot of it right there.
And South
that's part of-
Beaverton, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
sorry.
Jen, go ahead.
That will be part of our planning meeting, is to fill out that grant application so we can further understand, you know, project costs of what we think.
Right, but we should really approve it here and maybe say a maximum of, you know, what do you think a maximum, say 500 or 1,000 out of our?
No, the maximum is 6,000, right, that we can get.
Well, out of our treasury. You got to realize there's a lot of volunteer hours that are like, I don't know what it is now, $23 or something like that. So that will compensate for a lot of it. I mean, our treasury's not got that much money in it. I mean,
No,
it's not-
the treasury, we are not asking for money really from Greenway as far as I,
A matching grant means that you put up half of, or you match whatever you're asking for
in
with your
volunteer
own
hours.
funds.
Yeah,
In
and
volunteer hours, right?
yeah, normally, you know, you'd come with the figures, but you don't have them yet. And nobody ever really has the figures before they do a project. But, you know, I'm just saying, because of our budget, you know, and our, what we have in the bank, that we should put a limit on what we could do as a matching grant. Because of what you're using the money for, it can vary a little bit anyway.
No, listen, we are on the matching grant committee, right? I know
Oh,
what the
I
matching grant.
realize that.
Yeah, so you can put an amount there that would be covered by the volunteer hours. And that particular amount doesn't need to be curtailed by a vote on how much money you want to give. You know, like, we're not really asking for money from the neighborhood association. If you want to give us something and that goes in there, that's
Well,
fine.
I think actually, why don't we just vote to the NAC approves matching grant, and if necessary, use our funds up to $500. Something
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
fine.
That would be acceptable. And
Right.
why don't we vote? Miles, I'm not sure how we vote on this. That's my only thing. Miles, you still around?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, how do we vote on a virtual thing like this? Somebody want to make the motion to just put basically the NAC approves, you know, a matching grant application with up to $500 from our treasury. And of course, there'll be a lot of volunteer hours that will make up. So,
Yep, that would definitely work.
okay, so that's basically the motion. So how do we vote on it on this thing?
I second the motion.
Okay.
You
Okay,
can just,
I didn't ask for any questions or anything in it, but we pretty well discussed it. Were there any questions before we accept the second on it? Okay.
Do
Well,
we
now,
have a quorum?
yes, we do. Surprisingly,
Okay.
matter of fact, it says here we have 13 participants, so I'm really surprised. Quorum we've lowered the board members a little bit, so 5 is all we really needed. So I'm surprised we have 13 people. So, but now it's the technicalities of how we vote. Miles, you have to have the answer to that.
yeah. So Jim, you can ask for all those in favor and all those opposed. And if it seems close, we can ask for a roll call vote.
Okay, what do they have to do to show they're in favor or opposed? What are
Raise
the
their
partic-
hand.
Diane?
They can
Well, not
just,
everybody's on camera.
yeah,
The
they can
participants
just,
panel,
they can just say it.
Okay,
if they're
so,
not on mute.
yeah, just unmute yourself. And the thing has been, the motion's been made and it's been seconded. So basically, how many are in favor of approving a matching grant for the virtual dog walk activity? And
Let's
indicate-
change that to pet walk instead of
Okay, well,
dog
It says
walk.
already, that's what I was showing, right? Look, let me
Okay,
just
we
show it
It
again.
said dog.
okay, we'll see that.
No,
That's
it
amendment.
doesn't. Look, it says COVID Pet Cup Virtual Pet Walk Run Activity. That's what it will be called. So that's what
Okay.
we're voting for.
Okay, we'll accept that as amendment, and I won't quite do all Robert's rules.
It's not an amendment.
Okay, so let's go ahead and vote.
Aye.
Aye. Do I say something?
And just say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any nays? Well, I guess it's approved. And one more vote. I mean, obviously, if we approve this, we just have a motion to approve this, having a subcommittee for a virtual dog or pet activity. Okay, and basically that's the motion. So any seconds on that?
I second it.
Okay, I guess we should ask for questions between. We pretty well discussed that issue. So all those in favor say aye, and those opposed say nay.
Aye.
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 I guess that's pretty well approved. So both motions are approved. Oh, we didn't take minutes on this, but it will be recorded, right? And basically in the archives forever, as far as I know.
Jim, Deputy Chief Williams is back on just the regular phone now.
Okay, that's fine. We pretty much, except for the visitor comments and neighborhood concerns, we're done. So let's put them on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Yes.
Fantastic. I figured out the *6. My apologies. I have no idea why my audio dropped. But can someone just let me know where I left off with the 8 can't wait? What was the last number everyone heard?
I think we were on number 8, but I also asked the question if the police department had any concerns about the 8 different items, and that's about when you broke off.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that I think we always look for value in anything that's coming to us, obviously from the community or the public. And so, we've looked at places where, we could potentially strengthen our policies. I will say that the legislation that just got passed a couple of weeks ago, there was specific legislation regarding chokeholds and let me see here. And so, I mean, there's definitely some places where we can refine our policies. Without going into a tremendous amount of detail, just a couple of the challenges with some of these proposals is that they kind of deal in absolutes, and a lot of times there's just a dynamic nature to the work we do that you have to be cautious when you're writing policies that are very absolute, and then don't allow for any latitude for kind of the complexity and dynamic nature of interactions that happen. But I think we have policies that speak to all of these, and we feel very comfortable with that. The one other thing I'll just mention, there's number 7 is a requirement of a use of force continuum. And frankly, a continuum is something, I started my police career about 26 years ago. And the idea of a continuum was taught, that it was kind of this very sequential, first you do this, and then you do this, and then you do that. But as case law has evolved over the, a couple decades. The courts have said that's really the metric by which use of force is judged is this case law called Graham versus Connor, which is objective reasonableness. And there's millions of different scenarios I could lay out for you, but what I can tell you is there certainly could be an interaction where an officer merely showing up at the scene is sufficient to get compliance or accomplish whatever governmental interest is present. But then it may evolve to somebody saying, well, I don't want to do what you want me to do. And so there could be a situation where officers very sequential in being more stern, maybe putting their hands on somebody's arm and directing them somewhere. But there's also a lot more situations where it's just not appropriate to do certain things in order to minimize risk to the public or the person with whom you're interacting or the officers. So there's a really strong case law on the idea of a continuum.
Can I ask a question about what type of de-escalation training does the Beaverton Police Department currently practice, and really what are the next steps for this new policy?
Well, it's actually, with regard to de-escalation, it's not a new policy. We just had, we have annual intern training, and there was a block that was specifically, the content was specifically de-escalation and different strategies and methods by which, it can be accomplished. But I would also tell you that while we do get content that describes de-escalation, what it might look like, de-escalation is also found in the manner in which we train other topics. So you could have a scenario, for example. We put officers through scenario training. And in order for the officer to successfully accomplish the scenario, they have to demonstrate de-escalation. Now, the scenario may be a firearm scenario, it may be a patrol tactics scenario, it may be any number of different scenarios. But there's a lot of different ways where de-escalation is realized, but you might not see the term de-escalation on the header of that particular training. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I had a
the other
question.
thing
I had a question about, I think it was number 3. Could you read number 3 for us again?
Yeah, number 3 is requiring a warning before shooting.
Right.
And so here's what our policy says. Our policy says, under such circumstances, so in talking about deadly force, a verbal warning should precede the use of deadly force where feasible. And again, there's Supreme Court decisions, Graham versus Connor, Tennessee versus Garner, and then some nice circuit court decisions. So we always prefer, we want to tell somebody, here's what we want you to do, and we want to give them time to comply. And in the most perfect scenario, we want to do that, and then we want to say, if you don't do this, we may need to employ this force, and you want to give a warning. And I think there's a lot of scenarios where that works, but there's also the reality that some scenarios happen so quickly that if you were to expect an officer to give a warning, say when someone else is pointing a firearm at them or engage with some other deadly force, the policy has to recognize the nature of some of those encounters.
Okay, I assume the shooting up north of Seattle, I think yesterday or today, was a case where the guy gets, I'm not sure, but the guy gets out of his car firing at the 2 policemen. I sit there and I hear that give a warning, but in a case like that, there's no time to get a warning, hardly time to get your gun out, right?
Well, that's exactly right. And the policies have to reflect as best they can the intersection of police operations and the scenarios they encounter. And because those policies are going to end up governing liability and all kinds of other legal issues, on the backside of any event. But yeah, that's a perfect scenario where there certainly wasn't enough time, based on at least what I've read in the news, or would it have been appropriate to delay anything by giving a warning?
Okay. Can I ask one other question? This was something that was in next door about when your policeman was going into Fred Meyer's and helped the guy out by getting him a pair of shoes, etc.
Oh,
And there's a gal that thinks that social worker ought to be doing that instead of a policeman. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
well, my thoughts are that, and I don't want this to sound trite by any stretch of the imagination, but I couldn't be prouder to work with the people I work with at the Beaverton Police Department. And I know that officers do those sorts of things all the time, and most of the time it is completely unknown to the public, and it's even unknown to the leadership of the organization, because those officers don't want us to know those kinds of things they're doing. And like I said, I've been a police officer for 26 years, and I've seen the evolution of the role of policing in our communities. And I think right now there's a lot of circumstances where officers are doing the things that need to be done to meet the needs of the community. Specifically to your question about, a social worker should be doing that. Well, probably whoever the caring person is, either as a representative of government or the city of Beaverton or whatever organization, if they have the opportunity to serve a member of the community in that way, then it falls on them. And on a personal note, my wife and I were talking about that exact thing. And I said, the reality is some officers would not have bought that man shoes. And there's a lot of officers who would have bought that man shoes. But those other officers may contribute to their community in other ways. So I don't know, did that answer your question, or did I talk around it too far?
No, I think it's fine. Let's go ahead and see if there's any more questions.
Yes. Is there some place that we can see this list of the 8 listed, printed?
Yes. So it's in a number of places. You can go to the beavertonpolice.org website. You can also go to the City of Beaverton website. And if you want to specifically see what Chief Groshong spoke about on the 16th, she spoke about it at City Council. That's posted on the City Council page. And then the meeting materials, which includes the agenda bill, includes exactly what I'm looking at right now.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I have a question about mental health issues and how those are handled. I've heard a little bit about the CAHOOTS program that Eugene has in partnering with their police department and what Beaverton does. And one thing that comes to mind is, it's been several years, but it was on the night of one of our NAC meetings, a mother of young children by Conestoga Rec Center was shot and killed in front of her house. And I think she had a knife, and I believe it was mental health issues, that she had mental health issues. But what is done to prevent or preempt that from something like that from happening again?
Yeah, and I can't speak to the specific incident, but it's really at the forefront of our minds. And over the past several years, we've been embarking on a kind of a plan to get our patrol staff 100% trained in critical incident CIT. Critical incident, not critical incident, CIT training, crisis intervention training. I'm sorry, my day started at about 6:30 this morning, so I kind of forgot what that stood for a moment. And that's been a tremendous help. We're evaluating right now whether the plan has always been to get 100% of our patrol staff that training, but we are evaluating their courses in mental health first aid. And we're evaluating whether or not that might be a better course. Maybe we have a quarter of our staff CIT trained, and then 100% of our staff mental first aid trained. But I can also tell you that both in the Basic Police Academy, our in-house academy, and then through our in-service training, there is always we always touch on training regarding mental health issues. And similar to what I was saying about scenarios, sometimes when we have scenarios, so officers will have to, it's like role playing, they'll have to go through a scenario. Those scenarios will incorporate situations that we've encountered where maybe somebody was suffering from mental illness and they weren't responding in the way that the officers expected, and the scenario is built in a way that the officers have to work through the scenario, and in order to resolve it successfully, they have to identify that there's certain things present. The other thing we do is we also work with Washington County's mental health response team, which is a Washington County Sheriff's Office program where they partner with clinician LifeWorks, and we routinely sounds like somebody excited for the virtual dog walk, but so we partner with them, and in a lot of situations we'll call them and they'll come into the city. It's a countywide funded program, and as we speak, we're evaluating what our participation in that program might possibly look like. And then the other thing I'll just share is one of our patrol lieutenants, so in the patrol division, also is a liaison to a countywide mental health. It's kind of like a coordination team. And so we routinely are interacting with Washington County Mental Health, and then some of the nonprofit service providers that work in our area, like LifeWorks and those organizations. It's very much at the forefront. So to kind of wrap up my answer, it's very much at the forefront of our minds. And certainly if you had something specific you were hoping I would say, or you were looking for a department to say, please, let me know. But we're definitely trying to do more and more so we can be responsive to those types of issues. Did that answer your question?
Yes, I guess. I don't know that much about COOTS. I've heard some about it, heard some stories about it, and it just sounded like a really good program. And I was just curious if anything like that is done in Beaverton, or if you're looking into anything, any kind of partnership to have mental health professionals, things like that.
Yeah. So the short answer is yes. We're definitely looking into that and what that might look like for us to have a Beaverton officer partnered with a clinician, similar to what Washington County is doing. They would be part of a countywide team. So one of the things, there's a lot of logistics we would have to work through, expectations. How much time are they spending in Beaverton? Are they spending time in, Tualatin, Sherwood, Tigard, and then there's just agreements, job descriptions, and that sort of thing. But just this week, I've spent significant time working on that. And I'm definitely familiar with the COOTS program. I think it's been around about 30 years. I personally know the Eugene chief and deputy chief. And if that is something that, or a program that, we think that we can embark on, certainly all the materials are a phone call away. I suspect something like that might be, it might serve our community better if it's a county-wide team, because we just, people with whom we interact, they might be in Beaverton's jurisdiction today, Tigard's tomorrow, Washington County's the next day. And so there's definitely some work to be done. I know I'm rambling on. The short answer is yes, we're looking into all kinds of different options.
This is Travis. I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you tell me what percentage of the Beaverton police force is actually are residents of Beaverton?
I don't know that number.
You're going to find that that's a very important criteria moving forward. It's one that you should probably think about identifying and being part of the matrix of decisions on hiring moving forward. I think you're going to see that come up quite frequently here in the future. So be a good one to know. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
This is Cindy. I have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I don't know how this is addressed, if it is at all in the 8 Can't Wait, but one of the comments, of course, that's been going around the country is the fact that people of color and Hispanics and so forth are unfairly targeted, prejudged. And I don't know if we have that problem in Beaverton or not, but I know that an acquaintance of my family's in Portland, a black man was stopped one evening by a policeman who started asking him where he was going and things like that. And he finally said, "Why are you stopping me?" And they said, "We just want you to know we've got our eyes on you." And they left. And like I said, I haven't heard any comments about our Beaverton Police Department like that, but is that being addressed, that people are stopped more that are people of color?
Well, I can tell you two things. One, in our training, we discuss unconscious bias. We discuss constitutional policing, the need to, engage in interactions with the community to have a constitutional basis and things like that. The second thing is that for the last year, this is the second year, Beaverton is what's called a Tier 1 agency. And for the last year and a half, we've been reporting stops data to the Criminal Justice Commission of the state of Oregon. And it's traffic stops, it's rates of search, and I think it's pedestrian stops as well. And we report that all to the state. And then the state has, I don't know if it's a contractor, but some really smart people who analyze it. And they look at our stop data in the context of things like the zip code to try and extrapolate some kind of demographic information about, who we're stopping. They look at the veil of darkness, is it daytime, is it nighttime? And frankly, there's I think 72-page report they published after the first year, along with an executive summary. It's on the Criminal Justice Commission webpage, and I'm pretty sure we have it on our webpage as well. I can look while I'm still on the phone here. And so we do look at that. And first year's report that came out, it showed some potential, what's the word that they used? Like all of our numbers were pretty close. Well, let me just pull, if you'll oblige me for a minute, I'll speak in more certain terms here. Well, anyway, that report is out and it's a public record, and you certainly can look at it. When we met with the Criminal Justice Commission, they told us that based on the whole report and everything they had seen, that they didn't see anything that was an actionable item, concerned them that there was disparate treatment being conducted by the Beaverton Police Department. There were, however, a couple areas where it showed potential disparate treatment, and you can see those in the report. And what they told us was to be aware of it, and they were going to conduct another analysis at the end of this year. And once they had 2 data points, that then there could be an assessment about, is there in fact any kind of disparate treatment in existence, with our department and how we interact with the community. So we are Tier 1, so this is our second year. A large segment of the state are Tier 2 agencies, so this is their first year. And then next year, every agency in the state of Oregon will be reporting stops data.
Okay. Do you know if that is a countrywide policy, though? Is that?
Nope, that was only the state of Oregon. And frankly, the state of Oregon was one of the first states in the nation to embark on a comprehensive analysis of stop data. So it's definitely not a nationwide thing. It's only the state of Oregon for now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for answering that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're certainly welcome. And I'm looking at our website right now. I don't want to give you a guess. I know you're getting close to the end of the meeting here. Were there other questions for me while I'm looking this up? Did I lose you?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to the group. No, thank you.
Yeah, I was. If there were other questions.
On the 8 can't wait, the BPD has not officially signed on to that. Is that correct?
You know, I'm not sure if it's something we would sign on to or if it's just something we would adopt. I can tell you we feel very strongly. If you look at, you know, the material we published on it, we feel very strongly that we comply with all of the provisions of it that that we can as things stand right now. But, you know, for example, the, you know, force continuum, we wouldn't sign on to that because that's contrary to what case law is telling us. And so, you know, before we were to ever adopt something like that, we would need to do more analysis. We'd need to see what risk management has to say. We'd need to say, you know, consult with the city attorney on those sorts of things. So no, I can't say that we've adopted or signed on to all of it. Yes, so we do have the 8 can't wait. Yeah, everything I'm looking at is on our webpage under the About Us tab under beavertonpolice.org. And then I don't see the stops data, but I'm more than happy to send Miles the link to those reports. And then Miles, would you be able to share it with the NAC attendees?
Yes, and I already have that report from Chief Groshong from another NAC meeting.
Oh, okay.
So I'm happy to pass that along.
Okay, perfect.
So, any more questions? Last chance. Okay, let's go ahead. The last thing we have left are neighborhood concerns or visitor comments. So do we have any of those?
Chair, this is Deputy Chief Williams real quick. I'm going to sign off.
Go ahead.
I'm going to sign off and thank you for the time and thank you for the thoughtful questions. And just because the NAC meeting is over doesn't mean that, you know, your questions, we certainly invite them, and, you know, you certainly can contact us at any time regarding questions you have. So thank you for letting me tonight.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And there's
Thank you.
a lot of interest. And our next meeting is September 17th. Yeah, if you have questions of a nature like he's talked about tonight, why don't you let me or Miles know a little ahead so we can make sure that the police representative that comes is prepared. Because it's always easier that way.
Okay, thank you, and everyone have a nice evening.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank you.
Yeah. Any neighborhood concerns, visitors' comments, anything like that?
There is a question coming in from Danielle. It says, do you have any suggestions for getting the word out to the citizens regarding this project? And I think she's talking about the Fano Creek crossing.
Oh, well, you put it in the email. They said they're going to do some mailing to citizens in this area, which I have not seen yet. Well, maybe I'm not close enough because it's closer to Shoals Ferry, but you think where like Jennifer and Travis live, etc. That
Maybe Jennifer can post it in Nextdoor. Would that be a possibility?
oh,
Yeah,
I'm sure it is. They usually have their own people that post on there. I don't know what all they're going to do on it. I mean, you know, they just asked me to.
So is it up to us not also to put it out there? So that's what Danielle is asking. Daniela
Right,
is
well, we
asking.
sent it out to 200 people on our mailing list, our email list. So it got out that way. They're supposed to send some postal mailings, which I don't think have come out yet.
Well, can we post it to Nextdoor? Jen, can you do it?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, that can be done. It's
Yeah,
really
then
just,
do
it's really just, you know, I can go ahead and do that. That's not a problem. Or Jen can, if she wants.
I can post it on your Facebook page also.
Yeah, do you want to do
right.
that? And I don't know if, well, I can go ahead and post it to Nextdoor. Okay, there's not a whole lot on the thing, and most of it's in the Most of it's in the PDF that you open, and that has quite a few pages and stuff. But we'll get that done. If you don't see it next door, let me know, because I might forget. Anyway, anything else for the meeting?
I have a question. Are we gonna have more meetings now? Can we have like meetings once a month or every 2 months, something like that? Because one of the reasons I've not been on meetings is with 3 times a year, it's not gonna, I mean, there's no participation.
Well, actually, it's more than 3 times a year. It's like 4 times a year. Okay, so you know, we have them for September and November, and that's probably a good time to discuss this. You know,
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah.
Before you joined, he announced the next meeting September 17th, and then the following meeting is November 19th. So
that's great. Yeah, so that's already every 2 months.
Right. And then we usually have one in February, and well, of course, after February, then the coronavirus sort of screwed things up. So, you know, hopefully by next year things will be better. There is almost 0 chance of meeting at a school for the next school year. So, don't know how long the virtual meetings will last.
Well, Zoom is fine.
Yeah.
We're getting used to
Actually,
it.
in some ways, it works great. Yeah, the meeting in June 17th, I'll have all the regular people that come to the meeting. You know, the fire department's just doing a video that they want all the NACs to share, but we'll have the police person that comes to our meeting and stuff like that. Okay, if everybody's satisfied, the meeting is adjourned. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
thank you, everyone. Thank you, Miles.
Great job, Jim.
We'll see what happens next month. But it worked out pretty good, I mean, considering.
Yeah,
And the attendance was good too.
it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Danielle says, thanks for all your service. I live across the street from you, Jim.
Really?
Danielle, one of the attendees.
Oh,
She
okay.
just put in the chat. She said, I live across the street from you, Jim. So appreciate your service.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna end the meeting.
All right, great. See you all in September, if not sooner. And remember, there is a planning meeting on, maybe Jennifer should give the date again.
She's already gone.
Okay, well, anyway.
I can send out an email about
Well,
it.
I was gonna say one of the few things like that, but it's a little bit harder when you're doing virtual to keep some of these things down. So yeah, the date of the virtual meeting for the planning and some of the things the police chief or assistant chief said. I think it'd be
Okay.
good. And maybe also include that link to the thing for the Fennel Creek Trail crossing Shoals. I mean, I know
Okay.
it's on the original email thing, but you know, that might be good too.
Okay.
All righty.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, talk to you later. Bye.